Hi there, my name is Michael Mulquin and I represent Open and Agile Smart Cities and Communities. And I'm going to be taking you through two short training segments. The first one, as you can see, is relating to implementing open data platforms, data spaces and local digital twins. And then when we've completed that, we'll go on to talk about open architectures and minimal interoperability mechanisms. It's going to be exciting. Of course, with so many topics to cover in such a short time, it means that I won't be able to cover anything in any great detail, but hopefully it will be enough to give you a good sense of what this topic is about, why it's important, and we'll be able to point you to some useful training resources where you can dig into these things in more detail. So let's get into the first training segment. What we're going to be looking at, as we see here, is the roles of open data platforms, data spaces, and local digital twins, and their value to a local community or city. What are the steps to implementing each of these, and how we can use the Data Space Support Centre to find the information resources needed. So let's get on with it. Now, open and shareable data are two really important topics related to how we can use all the data that's been gathered in the city. Open data is something that's very familiar to us in cities and communities, because for many years we've been sharing the kind of data that anyone can access, use and share widely on our websites and in other ways for the benefit of our citizens and our businesses. So open data is data that is not in any way sensitive. It's data that is valuable to anybody, and anybody can use and share them as they want. However, shareable data is something different. It's not data that's just open. It's data that I carefully choose to share with specific people and organizations and for specific purposes. It's data that's restricted to certain organizations and roles within those organizations, and therefore has to be managed much more carefully than open data. Now, many cities and communities are already providing useful open data to citizens and businesses, and this is the next step: how we can make use of all the valuable data that's been gathered by the city administration and by many partners within the city to be able to be used to help make sure the city as a whole works really well. Now, let's start with open data platforms, because this is something we know a lot about, we're experts on, and we know that these data is being shared, open data is being shared widely for a number of very good reasons. The first, of course, is about accountability. Local administrations are elected by their citizens. They tax the citizens and the businesses and use that money to provide services. So it is only right that citizens and businesses are able to see who is making the decisions, why they're making them, and how the money that is being collected through local taxation is being used to benefit local people. So accountability is a key reason. It's being open and transparent with how the city administration works. But equally valid is the way that open data is often really valuable in saving staff time. Citizens and businesses have many questions of local authorities. Things like, when is my rubbish going to be collected? Or how can I find out which schools my children are able to go to? So there are many questions that citizens and businesses need to ask of local authorities. And rather than having to phone up and taking lots of staff time or maybe visit the offices, if that information is available in an easily searchable way online, this not only saves the citizen time, but it actually means that local staff in the city administration are not wasting a lot of time on calls and on talking to people face to face. So it saves staff time. Thirdly, and obviously that's implied by what we said just now, that when the right information is made easily available to citizens, then this is a service. It makes things much easier for citizens if they're not having to try and find out what's the right phone number to call or try and get the bus to the local offices of their city council. If they can just go online on their phone or on their computer and get that information quickly and easily, that's a really important and valuable service for the citizen. And then, of course, finally, often central government itself is mandating the use of open data for all of these reasons, to make sure that that the citizen is able to get the information that it needs from every level of administration. So that's what's happening, and that's been happening for a long time. And many cities are not just content with making their own data more openly available for the citizen and business, but they work with their partners to provide a common open data platform so that there's a one-stop shop where citizens who are interested in finding out useful information about what's happening in their city can go to one website and see there all of this information in one place that enables them to get that information easily and quickly. So what about shareable data? Well, shareable data is needed because a city is managed in different with different systems and different domains: mobility, utility use, shopping and commerce, health, housing. So there are many different agencies that manage different aspects of the city, and all of these agencies are collecting lots and lots of data increasingly to be able to do to manage their aspect of the city well. But of course, each of these different systems interact with each other, and therefore it's important that the data from each of these different systems that's relevant to helping the other systems to be able to do a good job, that data needs to be easily available so that the different other systems in the city can use it to help make better decisions about how they're doing their work. For instance, it's very useful if there's a big sports event happening in the city for public transport and other agencies to be aware of that, so they can make proper preparations to make sure that people can travel and all the other things that need to be done. And so it's very important that there's really easy ways for relevant information to be shared between the different systems that are managing the different aspects of the city. And that's why the European Interoperability Framework for Smart Cities and Communities has been set up to provide guidance to cities and communities as to how they can do that. There's lots of really good information that you can see where there's a link on this page to find out more details about the many practical advice and information that's provided to help make this work. But one of the recommendations is about setting up and consolidating interoperable local data platforms that's able to integrate and reuse data in cities and communities. That's what we're talking about, and that's something that the European Commission has seen as a really important way that cities can help develop and provide the information that people need. And so that's what we're talking about today. This is something that's really useful, and it's something that's mandated by the European Commission that's aiming at helping the flow of information around local areas and around the European Union as a whole. And so we need to think how to do it. Now, initially, we used to think about data being stored in data warehouses, but some years ago, this was opened up to talking about data lakes, where you'd often find, for instance, a city administration would host a data lake and would get data from its many partners and put all of that data in whatever format it was and so on within that one place, so that whenever anyone needed any of that data, it could be comparatively easily retrieved and used. However, that centralized way of storing data is gradually being replaced by a more decentralized way of doing it, which is often called data spaces. And in data spaces, what you're looking at is where there's a data ecosystem where a particular sector or application bringing together a number of different agencies that are working to deliver some aspect of, for instance, city life, like transport or energy or whatever. So all the different agencies that are aiming to deliver that aspect of city life are able to share data, not by putting it into a central repository, but by opening up, by enabling other people to take data from them and use it under proper terms and conditions. So what's happening is the data is held by the organization that generated it and owns it, but that organization has agreed to make that data available for certain purposes by other agencies within that ecosystem. So as an example, if you can imagine there's an area of the city where a lot of construction is going to be taking place, planned, maybe new housing, a retail, office space or whatever. And there's a real focus on making sure that new area of development is low carbon. That what you're doing is making sure that in the design and build, and then in the ongoing management of that area, that energy use and the carbon footprint are minimized as far as possible. Well, in order to make sure that you've got an overall understanding of how to reduce the carbon footprint of that area, there are many stakeholders that need to be brought on board, each of whom have different viewpoints, different aspects of the data that need to be made available so that the whole of that construction area can be managed properly to deliver what's needed. And a data space allows that to happen. It allows all the different stakeholders that are involved in designing and building and implementing and managing that new area of the city are able to share the information that helps them, each of them individually, to make the right decisions to get that carbon footprint as low as it can be. And that's just one example of many of where different ecosystems within the city that are aiming to deliver something important are able to share data together to all do a better job in making that work. So the benefits of data spaces are that you're not trying to force people to share data who see no reason for doing it, or make the case or justify why that should happen. A data space starts with an existing group of stakeholders, of organizations that all are working together already to deliver on a common aim, and so they can see much more easily the value of sharing data among themselves. And the other great benefit is that they're not losing control, if you like, of their data by providing it in some other place, a central repository, but they continue to maintain control of their data and only allow it to be shared with others when it makes sense for them. So it puts them much more in control of all this valuable data that they're gathering. The challenges, of course, are that that's great, but you still need to work hard at technical interoperability, because all of these agencies may be collecting and managing and holding that data using different formats and different approaches. And the other thing is, it's very important to put in place very strong governance rules to make sure that people can, when they take that data from another partner, can be sure that it's reliable, that it hasn't been changed in any way, and if they build any applications on top of it, that they can have the confidence that that data will continue to be provided at the same level of quantity and quality that's needed. So number of benefits, number of challenges, we just need to make it happen. And in doing that, if you want to make sure that you are really able to benefit from the best experience around, the place to go is the Data Space Support Centre, which provides all kinds of support and help, from documentation, interactive websites, communities, and specific advice for particular issues that you might be interested in. And it's really worthwhile going and looking to see all of the resources that are there available in the Data Space Support Centre to help you to do what you need to do in building the local data spaces that you need to put in place. So that's data spaces. The next step in data sharing are local digital twins. And that's where you're not simply collecting data and sharing data among yourselves, but you're bringing together data about the city in a way that really anchors that data to particular parts of the city, to geographic locations, and enables you to understand what's happening in all the different parts of the city and how all of those things link up together. It enables you to have effectively a digital replica of the physical city, so that you can see what's happening in the real city by using that digital replica to do it, and so that you can model different options and all the rest of it to help you make sure that you're making the best and the most effective decisions for managing the physical city. It's really about three different aspects of the city. First of all, obviously, it's about places and physical assets. It's about being able to describe these things digitally and link them up with IoT devices and video cameras, all kinds of things like that are providing real-time or near real-time information about what's happening in all of these different places, and therefore gain a really good sense of what's going on at all the different areas of the city. But an effective local digital twin doesn't stop there. It will also be able to take on board the different processes that are going on, what organizations are doing what, how they're how they're delivering on the different services that are needed. And it will also look at the different kinds of people that live and work in the city. What are their different needs? What are they doing at different times of the day or night? Where are they? And so really getting an understanding of all the things that are going on, both the physical, the processes, and also the people of that city, to make sure that all of these things can be managed comprehensively and together. So a digital twin, it could be a digital twin of the whole city. And here's a very good example that I was able to see in China a few years back, where you can see depicted the whole city, all the different aspects of the city, and get a real sense of, you know, what's happening in different places, so that you've got an overall picture of any problems that might be developing and what kind of things might need to be done to solve them. And that means, as you can see, there's some pictures there of where you've been able to drill down into actual video of particular areas of what's happening. And you can obviously, there's many options for you to use that overall digital twin of city to drill down into seeing what's happening in very specific places. And you can even drill down even further, for instance, to actually, here's a traffic light that's not working, and you can find out that particular traffic light, what are all the components in that traffic light, what components are not working, so that when you found out that traffic light isn't working, it's very easy to know precisely what sort of parts are needed and what kind of repairs might be required to get that traffic light working back up again as quickly as possible. So this is the idea of a digital twin, being able to see the whole picture, but also being able to drill down and find out how you can solve any problem that you see in the city as a whole, to be able to solve that problem in the particular place where it's happening. So, as we can see, digital twins can have huge advantages for a city. It can help planning by helping to look at what different options you might have before you build them. And then when things have been built, what might happen to that city, what might the impacts be, and what could you do about it? So this is a great way of putting in place plans, not just for building and construction, but how you can react if there's a disaster or some other issue happens. But it also helps you not just in looking forward, but actually helps you in the day-to-day management of the city, because when it's linked to sensors, actuators, video cameras and so on, you can get a very good sense of what's happening, where anything might be going wrong at any particular time, what might be going wrong, what might the impact of that thing be if it's not dealt with, what are the kind of things that could be done to mitigate those problems, and what could be done to quickly solve that problem in the first place. And so it's a great way to help you manage the city better. So imagine a flood, for instance, something that's very, very much still in our minds at the moment. So the digital twin of the environment will help you to understand, there's a flood happening. So how quickly are the waters likely to rise? Which roads and transport links are going to be covered first and will become impassable? Which parts of the city are likely to be safe havens for people to go to, and which are ones that people need to evacuate quickly? Where might power outages happen, and where might be good places to store equipment and so on that would help with dealing with the impact of flooding? So that's a really useful aspect of a flood. But not just that, if you've got a digital twin that's really focused on dealing with these kind of disasters, you could also map which organisations are best placed to provide help. What help could they provide? Who manages key buildings that could provide shelter, and how can you make sure they're opened up in time? What information is needed by different agencies and so on? And where are agencies that may have staff in key positions that could really help to manage any natural disaster as it's occurring? So that's a very important aspect. And then, of course, when you're looking at people, it's very useful to know what are the most which people are most vulnerable when any disaster, any problem happens. What's the best way to communicate with the different kinds of people in the city? Where might they be at any particular time? Are they at work? Are they shopping? Are they likely to be at home? So that you can make sure you can manage the safety of the different sorts of people in your city, should there be any flood or something like that. So that's just one example of how a digital twin can provide you with really comprehensive and effective solutions for any challenges or natural disasters that might happen in your city. So we've been talking about 4 stages. The open data platform that many city councils will already be very experienced with. how you can open that up so that it's not just holding data that's generated and managed by the city administration, but also can provide a one-stop shop for useful information locally, but where data is gathered from many different partners in that one place. The next stage is being able to share sensitive data between partners using a local data space, well-managed data sharing ecosystem. And then the next stage on the line is once you're able to unlock and unleash the data that's being held by these many different agencies, how can you use all of that rich data to help build a local digital twin that can provide the information that managers need to be able to manage that city and community better. So this is the issue really. It's about thinking about these different stages, if you like, of opening up the data that's been gathered in the city, and thinking about where is my city, where is my community, and where do I need to go to next to be able to use that data even more effectively.